Let me give you some appropriate context of President Kasukuwere. This is a man who his whole life he has been championing and preparing himself for this position. He has been preparing to be president for a while. The president who we had before President Emmerson Mnangagwa, President Robert Mugabe, was preparing him to take over to be president. So it's not a question of when did he decide, it's a question of when did the people decide that they want him to become the president. Kasukuwere has never ever put himself up for a position. He's always been forwarded by people, and in this instance he was forwarded by the people who were not happy that Mugabe's legacy is in tatters, who are not happy that ZANU-PF legacy is in tatters. ZANU-PF is forwarding Kasukuwere to run for president.
Of course, and he runs for president and is not even part of ZANU-PF. And you are saying that he's carrying on with the legacy of the former president, Robert Mugabe. You know, how and what form and shape will this campaign take place?
Who decided that he's not part of ZANU-PF? ZANU-PF didn't decide that. ZANU-PF members didn't decide that. Politics has got a structure. There's the circus of politics, then there's the administration of politics. Nobody was ever given an opportunity to decide if he is or he's not in ZANU-PF. You know who decides whether someone is in a party? It's the person themselves. He still holds his card member. His political card. He has never denounced it. Saviour Kasukuwere did not exit ZANU-PF. He was forced out of ZANU-PF.
Okay, so how will he be running for president if ZANU-PF has a president, and that is Emmerson Mnangagwa?
Do you think they're going to vote for ZANU-PF? Do you think any ZANU-PF member is voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa? You speak to people. I mean, you're a journalist. You speak to people all the time. I don't know one person, and I live in Zimbabwe, who is voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa in this election. Let me make it clearer. In ZANU-PF, you have the Women's League, you have the main wing, and you have the Youth League. The young people are not voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa. I would like to see who's voting. The women are not voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa. I cannot articulate the reason. The main wing is not voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa. They're alienated. Everybody in ZANU-PF is looking for a fresh start. I am looking for a fresh start. And let me explain what a fresh start is. A fresh start is an opportunity to reset, an opportunity to rebuild the dream and promise that ZANU-PF promised but was broken. Is there a broken promise from ZANU-PF? 100%. Saviour Kasukuwere will mend the promise. He has to. Otherwise, ZANU-PF is done. This election is between Saviour Kasukuwere and Nelson Chamisa.
And one would ask that ZANU-PF does indeed have a president, and if Kasukuwere wants to be the president of ZANU-PF, he'd have to run within the party structures, and which he has not done so.
Kasukuwere wants to be president of Zimbabwe, first of all, but to be clearer, Kasukuwere is running for president and he will receive votes from members of ZANU-PF. Members of ZANU-PF do not want Emmerson Mnangagwa. I have no empirical context of members of ZANU-PF wanting Emmerson Mnangagwa. He's not very good at elections. It's not really his thing. Kasukuwere is more popular. On any front you try to calculate, Kasukuwere is the single greatest threat. The news of the day today is Saviour Kasukuwere. Oh. The news of the day. So nomination court, everybody's talking about, oh, Kasukuwere is a non-event, Kasukuwere doesn't matter. Yeah, I bet he doesn't.
When does he launch his campaign?
The campaign was launched the day President Robert Mugabe was ousted. The campaign goes into full force over the next 60 days. I am sitting here as part of the campaign. In fact, I'm coming from a strategy team with the campaign. I think you will start to see the visibility of him with the people of Zimbabwe starting from Monday. He will be on the ground. He will be with the people. The only reason he was not with the people this weekend is we wanted to give you an opportunity to talk to him.
And that's what the people of Zimbabwe have been asking. Where is Mr. Kasukuwere?
The people of Zimbabwe have been with Mr. Kasukuwere his whole life. They know who he is. Mr. Kasukuwere, President Kasukuwere, is not a new candidate. They know who Saviour Kasukuwere is. They know who they're going to vote for. In fact, I want to do this interview with you again 3 months from now, and we will be talking about the first time a sitting president in Zimbabwe was a minority recipient of votes by a mile. Emmerson Mnangagwa is not winning this election. He can't.
The last time we heard of Mr. Kasukuwere, especially when it comes to elections, was when he was part of the G40.
Right.
Of course, when he was supporting former First Lady of Zimbabwe, Grace Mugabe.
Right.
Does he have the blessing of Grace Mugabe to go ahead and run for president of Zimbabwe?
President Kasukuwere has the blessing of the non-Karanga vote. He has the blessing of the youth in ZANU-PF who are despondent and resident to the fact that ZANU-PF has no space for them. President Kasukuwere has the vote of the Women's League, who now realize that there's nothing on offer for them. President Kasukuwere has the vote of the war veterans, who thought if one of them took office and took power, they would have a chance to a fresh start. President Kasukuwere has the vote of ZANU-PF members. Does he have the vote of former First Lady Grace? I'm sure he does. Does he have the vote of former President Robert Mugabe? He would have. We would wait until elections, but those votes are not enough. The votes that matter are the votes of the people, and that's what we're focused on in this election.
And what's different this time around with this election campaign? One would ask that back in 2017, when a number of Zimbabweans wanted the former president to step down from his position, you also saw a lot of protests from Zimbabweans saying that they've had enough of ZANU-PF and it's time for change. And that's when we saw the likes of Nelson Chamisa also coming to the fore and other opposition parties. What's different this time around? Do you think that the attitudes of Zimbabweans towards ZANU-PF members will be different? Do you think that you'll have the support of the people of Zimbabwe, even though you come with the tagline, being a member of ZANU-PF?
What is different is this election is not going to be about the people who want to be president. This election is going to be about why they want to be president. President Kasukuwere understands one thing. There is nothing wrong with Zimbabwe that Zimbabweans cannot solve. Absolutely nothing. He's been practicing it his whole life. Anybody who has watched him come up knows exactly what he stands for. So what's different is you are going to have a candidate who actually speaks about issues. If I asked you what issues the president, who's the incumbent, speaks about, you probably couldn't tell me what issues he speaks about. If I asked you what issues Nelson Chamisa speaks about, you probably couldn't tell me. You probably could tell me a slogan. President Kasukuwere understands issues. He's been an issue guy, which is why he's risen up the ranks to the place where he is. And he has people like me and the team around him who will make sure we stay on issue. But most importantly, we understand the fundamental issue, that is, there is nothing wrong with Zimbabwe that Zimbabweans themselves cannot solve.
Do you think that he'll be given the freedom and the space to campaign freely for the elections? One would ask, because he was in exile for quite some time. There were a warrant of arrest as well. Do you think that this time around he will be given freedom to run his campaign?
I would like to think and believe that Chamisa is a good man and Chamisa is not going to get in his way and be violent in this election. I'd like to believe that Nelson Chamisa wants a fair contest and wants a fair contest where he can win or lose fairly. So no, I do not believe that there's anything Chamisa is going to do to get in his way, because this election is between President Kasukuwere and Nelson Chamisa.